All right, and we're on in 3, 2, 1. This is Holographic Harley with Harley. I'm Harley. Here we go. So today's talk is for mature audiences, and listener discretion is strongly advised. There is more to reality than what meets the eye, for all truths are but half-truths, based upon what we can see and what we cannot see. We are all well aware of at least the fact by now that the 1% control the means of production, from raw materials to trade to agriculture to even the narrative pushed by the mainstream media. But behind the 1% is a hidden hand, the 1% of the 1%, and they perform many, many rituals of chaos magic. So, what is chaos magic, or rather, black magic? Well, according to ceremonial magician Alister Crowley, in quote, magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. And so magic, or rather a spell, can only exist and thereby manifest, so as long as it can grasp the will of the individuals. To my understanding, a core law of this form of chaos magic is to be neutral and non-dual. It does not judge, it does not impose negativity. Rather, magic cannot impose itself upon a subject unless it has the subject's consent, which is ultimately your free will. So, how does something that you cannot even see inveigle itself into your life and into your mind? First is to understand why the 1% exist. The 1% exist as so they may shape your perception. I promise you, the 1% are nothing but egotistical frontmen who worship a beast. Now, perception is shaped through information. For instance, Hollywood, the kingpin of film. Film allows us to express stories about ourselves, even if you are voiceless. But with the mainstream films, there's more to it than that. The film reflects a play, a drama, which is to shape the thoughts and emotions of the audience. An emotion, I use it as E-motion, energy in motion, to shape your energy. And this is known as preemptive programming, telling a story of an event before it actually occurs. And that is why, namely, every film you see in Hollywood is of a dystopian future. So why, just why would someone do this? Well, because it keeps the 1% in power. Again, information sways perception, that of which in turn persuades the perception of self and your relationship with yourself. So the purpose of a spell is to implant an idea into the mind. For the 1%, once an idea has been implanted, it morphs into a program of subconscious behavior. And this is what that foreshadow of preemptive programming is, subconscious behavior. For example, racism. Racism in its totality is nothing but a fault line used to divide the 99% against each other. And if you can divide, you can rule. This goes back to kings conquer of the nobility. But the thing is, the human body and the mind, it only has a finite amount of energy before it must rest. And if you can exacerbate, I think I said that word right, if you can exacerbate the person, then you can take away their essence of vitality. And by doing this, the person wakes up every day to merely replay residuals of the day before. Racism is a residual which has been ongoing in America for nearly 400 plus years. And so when you pin the 99% against each other by creating fault lines of their skin, they give away their vitality, thereby not having the energy to actually question the 1%. And this is how Satanists stay in power. Now, I shall give two examples of how this programming, or the programming of the spell racism works through film and writing, that of which flow through the mainstream. For instance, in the new film Queen and Slim, the couple accidentally kills a cop. Then they go into hiding. They go on the run for a while. I'm botching this for you. You should see the movie for yourself. And also, spoiler alert. In the end, they are caught by the police. And the character Slim, with his hands over his head, he peacefully turns himself over to the authorities. As he does so, the cops, they unload bullets all into him, and that's how the film ends. And this is a form of preemptive programming into your subconscious to implant the idea, to implant the spell that you cannot trust the police. Henceforth, not trusting the police implies another fault line of us versus them. And this is where the whole victim mentality comes from. And before I actually go further, here's another example. In Ta-Nehisi Coates, his book Between the World and Me, Coates, he has this passage and he writes about, I read this while I was in college, but he writes about his fear for his son growing up in the world where police can brutalize him because he's black. This is another fear-based definition. What this is doing, it's a form of preemptive programming into the black mind and the black body to make you fear. And this is where the notion of being a victim comes in, is that when something happens, you then say to your government or to the 1%, hey, look at what they're doing to us. What are you going to do to help us? What that means is that you are dependent upon your environment to fix the situation. The trick is this. The trick of the beast is this. It's to make you believe that the external world is more real than the internal world. Now, what is a belief? A belief is a thought repeated over and over and over again until it becomes your reality. And this is what the spell represents. The spell is an external focal point of one's environment. So, it's very latent. Before it can manifest, it has a latency. By capturing the attention of the audience to focus their thoughts, their emotions, their energy on police brutalizing black folks, it creates a drama in the mind. And this mind drama is to make you co-create the fictional story that you saw on the screen into your non-fictional experience by reminding yourself every day that because of the color of your skin, you're going to get brutalized by the police. You're going to, what's going to happen is you're going to eventually walk into that reality wherein it already exists, because you are going to act as if it's already happened. And if you're acting as if it's already happened, then it has happened. And this co-creation with the external environment, it creates a point of view, it creates a vibe or a vibration field. And eventually, the collective of humanity, once people share about the book and the film, this is why these films are the books are New York Times bestsellers and the films are most watched. Once people collectively share this narrative of their experience, it will manifest. And so you can see this even today in the case of Breonna Taylor. Queen and Slim just came out, and that's all people are talking about. And now you see police just run up into someone's home, and then they kill someone, and it happens to be, guess what, a black person, because collectively humanity has believed that this is real. And this is the thing. This is how reality works. What you put out is what you get back. And if you put out the notion of being dependent upon your environment, dependent upon the spell, you exacerbate your energy, and thereby you give it over to the 1%. What I'm trying to say is this. Our thoughts create the layout of our reality. And if you see yourself as a victim, then you will experience what it means to be a victim. But that's the thing. There are no victims. There are only those who are willing participants, who willingly participate in the thoughts, the emotions, and the energy of what they put out. The thing is, the 1% they want to frame the reality that the world is happening to you and not for you. They want you to co-create from the external world rather than co-create from within the heart. Because this is the thing, every moment of life is always and forever the same moment, just from another point of view. The moment never happens to you, you happen to it. And so when you change your access to information, when you change your perception to thereby change yourself, and you stop asking the world to change, because that's the thing, you don't change the world, you change yourself. And when people change themselves collectively, they begin to co-create with their heart. And the heart is of your essence, the heart is of your divine soul. Racism and fault lines and finger pointing, they cannot exist in the heart. And so the thing is, we need to move on from the ways of the old. We need to move beyond race. We need to let go of race and fault lines. We need to let go of the spell which has been programmed into us. We need to stop identifying with the color of our skin. And we need to start identifying with the content of our character, because the content of our character is of our hearts. And when we begin to see that, we begin to see that each and every one of us is a true and unique expression of God. You know, before I was about to record this podcast, it is quite synchronistic. I came across a video by Alan Watts, and the first 1 minute, first opening of it, this is what Alan said, in quote, "The only way to handle danger is to face it, because when you are frightened of it, it only makes it worse, because you project onto it all kinds of bogeys and threats which do not even exist. When you meet a ghost, do not run away, because the ghost will capture your substance of fear and materialize it out of your own substance, and it will kill you, eventually, because it will take over your own vitality. So, when confronted with a ghost, walk through it, and it will disappear. For this is the description of anxiety. Anxiety is the fear that a pair of opposites might cancel out the other. And these fault lines, these divisions and polarizations are the fear that the majority of white people will cancel out black people. But that's the thing. We're not of our skin. We're above that. We are the majority. We are the majority. We are the 99%. And then there's the 1%, and the 1% of the 1%. And once we see this, we literally have the opportunity to shift our perception into a reality wherein this massive behemoth does not even exist. The choice is solely yours. Until next time, take care and be well.